Hey everyone! If you enjoyed this video, the full version is available on Patreon. I'll be uploading all my content there going forward.
Chapter 1. 5 Elements Mountain. A monkey was crushed and pressed hard against the bottom of the mountain. Sun Wukong looked up at the towering mountain range that seemed to pierce the clouds, feeling somewhat bewildered. Then, a memory suddenly surfaced, and he fell into deep thought. Did he transmigrate into the body of Sun Wukong? Sun Wukong, the Monkey King from Journey to the West. The current plot has progressed to the point where Sun Wukong wreaks havoc in the heavenly palace and is suppressed under the 5 Fingers Mountain by the Buddha. However, having been familiar with the prehistoric Journey to the West storyline, he knew that Sun Wukong's life, from the moment he was born, was all planned by the heavenly sage. The stones left over from Nuwa's patching of the sky grew by absorbing the essence of the sun and moon on Flower Fruit Mountain, and even a crepe myrtle plant next to it could attain immortality. This stone is related to the rise and fall of Buddhism. It was a scheme set up by Buddhism from the very beginning. While it's true he possesses spiritual talent, could a mere Sun Wukong really defeat the saints, quasi-saints, and great immortals of heaven? All of this was simply a prearranged process by Western Buddhism and the heavenly court. Sun Wukong is like a clown who thinks he can change his fate, but in reality, everything about him is perfectly arranged. Ding! Congratulations, host, for triggering the sign-in system. System binding in progress. Ding! Binding successful. System? Sun Wukong was overjoyed. This is the protagonist's standard cheat code. Sun Wukong, who was initially a little flustered, instantly calmed down. With the system around, he doesn't panic. The plot of Journey to the West is definitely going to take a turn. He didn't want to be bossed around by those people above, put under their thumb, and end up as their dog. To refuse to be a dog, you need the strength to back it up. The current Sun Wukong is only at the level of a Tai true immortal, otherwise, he wouldn't have been unable to escape even the 5-finger mountain of the Buddha. The Buddha is a quasi-saint. Although not a saint, he is the most powerful being below the saint level. This is the disparity in strength. As for the Monkey King Sun Wukong's havoc in the heavenly palace, in the eyes of many, it was just a joke. Ding! The system has issued a sign-in task. Stay on 5 Elements Mountain and successfully check in for 1 day. The reward for successful check-in is the Immortal Slaughtering Formation. The Immortal Slaughtering Formation? That's a top-grade innate spiritual treasure. Sun Wukong was tempted when he saw the top-grade innate spiritual treasure. Now we are in the era of Journey to the West, and top-grade innate spiritual treasures are magical artifacts that only a quasi-saint like the Jade Emperor can possess. But the thought that if he were to follow Tang Santang to the Western Paradise to obtain the scriptures would mean he would be repeating the same old mistakes, wearing the golden headband, and becoming a dog in the Western Paradise. They had to attack wherever they pointed. And at the same time, he had to be eternally grateful to them. It's just spending a day at 5 Elements Mountain, right? That's easy. He was also trapped under the 5 Elements Mountain and was never supposed to get out. A day has passed. Ding! Congratulations, host, you have successfully checked in at 5 Elements Mountain for 1 day. Rewards have been issued. Boom! As soon as the system's voice faded, a group of bright objects rose up around Sun Wukong, gradually ascending and hovering in the air, encircling the 5-finger mountain, with flashes of light appearing from time to time. The Immortal Slaughtering Formation is a formation left over from the primordial era. Even the sages of today cannot break it. Unless the 4 saints join forces. If all the saints were to gather together just to get Sun Wukong out of the 5 Elements Mountain to go to the Western Paradise to retrieve the scriptures, that would be too undignified. Moreover, the relationships between sages, having survived the previous great calamity of the witches and demons, were already quite complex and complicated. So basically, once this formation is activated, Sun Wukong is absolutely safe. If he doesn't want to come out, then no one can make him come out. His personal safety is absolutely guaranteed. Chapter 2. Check-in system? As the name suggests, if he wasn't mistaken, it was a place to sign in, and completing the system's tasks would earn him corresponding rewards. I really have no idea what the next daily check-in task will be. Just as Sun Wukong was pondering this question, the system's electronic notification sounded again. Ding! System task issued. Sign in for 3 days at the foot of Guanyin Mountain. Sign in successful. Reward, 100,000 merit points. Nanny? Is this another sign-in at the foot of Guanyin Mountain? The only difference is that the check-in period has changed from 1 day to 3 days. Is this sign-in system going to make him sign in under the 5-finger mountain forever? But that's easy, it's just staying at the foot of Guanyin Mountain for 3 days. 100,000 merit points. His merit is divided into 2 types, one is the favor bestowed by heaven. It should be understood that the reason why a sage can become a sage is because he has accumulated merit and is favored by heaven. Therefore, he becomes a sage. Merit from heaven is not something that everyone can obtain. Like the heavenly way in Journey to the West, Sun Wukong's birth and even his entire life were all meticulously planned by the heavenly way. Since the heavenly Dao had made him a saint, Sun Wukong was immediately disqualified. Another way to accumulate merit is by killing someone and then transferring their merit. Sun Wukong was not interested in either of these 2 types of Sun Wukong, and the 3 blessings were extremely important. Now that he has the system's rewards, under these circumstances, he only needs to complete the tasks issued by the system, and his cultivation level will naturally increase. He thought that if the system only required people to sign in at the foot of Guanyin Mountain and not leave Guanyin Mountain, he planned to stay there and not go out. His current strength wasn't that great to begin with, and the original owner of this body had offended quite a few people. The reason he was so arrogant before wasn't because Sun Wukong was strong. Having read The Journey to the West, Sun Wukong understood that all of this was arranged by the will of heaven. He doesn't want to be someone else's pawn. He decided that if he didn't have the strength, he would just lie low until he had the strength to be invincible before he went out and had fun. Otherwise, if he goes out now, he might be killed by someone who comes from nowhere, or he might become a pawn in the scheme of the sages and the heavenly Dao. Neither of these outcomes was what he wanted, so he decided to play it safe. Once he manages to survive and gain enough strength to escape, he will definitely show Buddha what it means to have fortunes change every 30 years, and how dare they suppress him under the 5-finger mountain. They even want him to go to the Western paradise to obtain Buddhist scriptures, spread Buddhism and bring prosperity to the West? Don't even think about it. That's impossible. He'll crush him under the 5-finger mountain. He's written all of this down in his little notebook, and he'll get it all back. Meanwhile, the West. The time is almost right. The monkey demon is stubborn and unruly. Guanyin will recite Buddhist scriptures to him every day to eliminate his demonic aura and calm his mind, said the Buddha, who sat at the top. I go to him every day to recite Buddhist scriptures and explain Buddhist principles to him. He's the key figure in our scheme. Good. I will definitely go and teach Sun Wukong properly. I will purify the evil energy within him. Guanyin spoke from the side. He's been suppressed for hundreds of years. That mischievous monkey has been suppressed for so long, his temperament should have improved a lot. Jin Shanzi has now descended to earth and been reincarnated. The resurgence of Buddhism is an inevitable trend. The Buddha continued speaking. The other Buddhas and Bodhisattvas all chanted goodness in unison. Chapter 3. You mischievous monkey, do you even know what you've done wrong? A 5-colored lotus platform hangs in the air, radiating a light that saves all living beings. At the foot of the desolate Guanyin Mountain, in a place where no one could be seen for hundreds of miles around, human voices were heard this time. Sun Wukong looked up and saw that the person who had come was Guanyin Bodhisattva. Sun Wukong was wondering whether he should acknowledge Guanyin or not. On the surface, they appear kind and speak words of salvation, but behind the scenes, they engage in one underhanded act after another. Is anyone there? Seeing that no one responded for a long time, Guanyin had no choice but to speak again. I, old son, am here. This time, Sun Wukong finally spoke up and greeted everyone. That damned Buddha! He actually used tricks to suppress me, old son, under the five-finger mountain. I, old son, refuse to accept this. And you dog like Guanyin, don't pretend to be a good person here, you androgynous wretch. Sun Wukong didn't have a good impression of the people from the West. The things they say are anything but ordinary, they're incredibly sharp-tongued. On the surface, they appear compassionate like Buddha, but who knows what dirty things they've done behind the scenes. You impudent monkey! Still so arrogant and domineering. This Bodhisattva will recite Buddhist scriptures for you to dispel the evil in your heart. Guanyin was taken aback by Sun Wukong's sharp tongue. His cultivation was highly respected in the West, and no one had ever spoken to him in such a tone before. If he hadn't thought that Sun Wukong was still useful, he would have definitely taught this unruly monkey a lesson and shown him his ignorance. I won't listen. What nonsense! I, old son, don't believe in Buddha. My fate is in my own hands, not in the heavens. If you're so capable, call that Buddha over here. I, old son, want to fight him another 500 rounds. Sun Wukong continued his provocation directly. This time, besides Guanyin, the Buddha, who came from the west with Guanyin, also came. Sun Wukong's attitude put Guanyin in an awkward position, and she couldn't hold back any longer, deciding to teach this unruly monkey a lesson. He suddenly unleashed beams of light, seemingly shimmering with gold, but in reality carrying an aura of harm. Sun Wukong could clearly feel the oppressive force emanating from these rays of light. This is the difference in strength. Guanyin Bodhisattva is a great Luo Golden Immortal, while Sun Wukong is merely a Tai Golden Immortal. When Sun Wukong saw that Guanyin Bodhisattva had actually attacked him directly, he immediately panicked. Despite his provocation, he didn't want to lose his life here. At the same time, his determination to become stronger became even stronger. At this time, Sun Wukong realized that his strength was far from enough to cause trouble outside, so he decided to stay at home under the Five Fingers Mountain and cultivate diligently. In the primordial world of Journey to the West, strength speaks for itself. Only with absolute power can you roam freely in this world. Just as Guanyin Bodhisattva's light shone down, the immortal slaughtering formation, which was suspended in the air, moved. The beams of light were absorbed by the formation, while Sun Wukong remained completely unharmed. The imagined harm did not occur. Only then did Sun Wukong remember that he had just obtained the immortal slaughtering formation. The ancient formations were so powerful that even a sage couldn't harm him, let alone a mere Guanyin Bodhisattva. Bodhisattva. The light you emitted just now was quite beautiful. Could you please emit a little more? Sun Wukong said with a grin. Since he was unharmed and Guanyin Bodhisattva had been rude to him first, he decided not to be polite. Chapter 4. Guanyin Bodhisattva has always been respected in Buddhism and heaven, she has never been harassed like this before. Moreover, the magic he had just cast was easily broken by Sun Wukong. It should be noted that there are other Buddhas in the West here, and the Western Tathagata is also closely monitoring the situation at Wazi Mountain. This made him lose face. He immediately got angry. You mischievous monkey! Guanyin Bodhisattva unleashed her power once more, intending to teach Sun Wukong a lesson and show him how to behave. 10,000 rays of light descended from the sky, heading straight for Sun Wukong. Ding! Congratulations, host, you have successfully checked in at Wazishan for 3 days. A reward of 100,000 merit points. System reward has been issued. At the same time, 100,000 merits surrounded Sun Wukong, emitting a faint light. The immortal slaughtering formation absorbed the magical power of Guanyin Bodhisattva, while 100,000 merits swirled beneath the formation, gradually entering Sun Wukong's body. Originally a mid-stage Tai true immortal, Sun Wukong reached his peak directly with the help of 100,000 merits, and was even showing signs of a breakthrough. Indeed, this merit is truly a rare treasure. Things are different now. In the primordial era, there was no shortage of treasures or spiritual energy. But now, after the great calamity of the Lich King and the conferment of the gods, the spiritual energy and magical treasures in this world are very limited. Sun Wukong has a sign-in system. By simply completing the sign-in tasks issued by the system, he can obtain treasures that others can only dream of. Guanyin Bodhisattva naturally sensed the fluctuations caused by Sun Wukong's advancement. Has he broken through? How is that possible? Guanyin Bodhisattva spoke in disbelief. His cultivation level was higher than Sun Wukong's, so he could naturally tell that Sun Wukong had broken through. He attacked him, and yet he was still able to break through at that moment. Even though it's a clever monkey, its talent shouldn't be this strong. It broke through in just a short while. The Buddha, standing to the side, was also completely bewildered when he saw Sun Wukong break through to the next level. You can all leave now. I, old Sun, need to rest. Goodbye. After saying this, Sun Wukong never showed his face again. Staying at the foot of Five Fingers Mountain, Sun Wukong opened up a cave for him on the second day after he arrived. As for the wind, rain, sun, and wind that Buddha and Guanyin wanted him to experience, that's impossible. Because of the appearance of the immortal slaughtering formation, the Buddha's seal was broken long ago, and he now calls the shots at Five Finger Mountain. Around. When no one came, he would stay happily in his cave, where the local earth gods and goddesses would offer him fine wine and food. It's fair to say that Sun Wukong lived a very comfortable life during his 500 years here. It wasn't as tragic as depicted in novels and TV dramas. All I can say is that this is a clever monkey, very opportunistic. Otherwise, he wouldn't have refused when the Jade Emperor asked him to be the keeper of the heavenly horses. At first, he actually wanted to make money peacefully. It was just that the Jade Emperor was too overbearing and he could no longer tolerate it. Moreover, Sun Wukong was too proud, so he had no choice but to cause a ruckus in the heavenly palace, which was enough for the Buddha to execute him on the spot and imprison him under the Five Fingers Mountain for 500 years. We have food and drink, but no freedom. Sun Wukong was so bored he was practically going to rot. Otherwise, Guanyin Bodhisattva wouldn't have asked him to assist Tang Santang on his journey to the west to obtain the scriptures, and he would have agreed so readily, even if it meant wearing the golden headband. After all, being imprisoned under the Five Finger Mountain for 500 years would be an immense torment for a monkey like Sun Wukong, who couldn't sit still for even a quarter of an hour. However, now that Sun Wukong has become him, he is not unhappy at all about staying under the Five Fingers Mountain. If you lack the strength, then just lie low and cultivate to improve yourself. In his view, the outside world was extremely dangerous. Sun Wukong's strength can be seen from his assistance to Tang Santang on his journey to the west, where he sought help everywhere. There are countless demons more powerful than Sun Wukong, not to mention other things. So why bother going out? Isn't staying put better? Chapter 5. Guanyin Bodhisattva was furious when she saw Sun Wukong's arrogance. However, looking at the array that was floating in the air above Five Finger Mountain and emitting a faint light, he felt a little apprehensive. His strength is indeed that of a great Luo Golden Immortal. This is no longer the era when saints and great Luo Golden Immortals were everywhere in the primordial world. His current cultivation level, while not necessarily the best in the world, is certainly among the top 2. In this day and age, there are only a handful of great immortals. The formation that had just been used actually deflected his attack. It's actually the immortal slaughtering formation. The immortal slaughtering formation, lost since the great calamity of the investiture of the gods, has actually appeared here. The Buddha, who had come with Guanyin, exclaimed in surprise. The Immortal slaughtering formation. Guanyin's tone was also full of shock. This is an ancient formation. How could the Immortal slaughtering formation suddenly appear here at Five Elements Mountain? It wasn't there before. It seems he needs to go back and report this to Buddha. Great Thunder Temple. Buddha, this mischievous monkey is stubborn and unruly. I suspect there's someone behind the scenes trying to hinder the flourishing of Buddhism. Guanyin reported the situation at the foot of the Five-Finger Mountain to Buddha. This mischievous monkey's life, from birth to now, has been entirely within their calculations. How could a formation suddenly appear? When Buddha heard Guanyin's words, he began to calculate with his fingers. Originally, the great prosperity of Buddhism was an inevitable trend, but when he calculated, he found that the future was becoming blurry. Which saint is trying to sabotage the flourishing of Buddhism? Could it be the Tongtian sect leader? Guanyin guessed. Unlikely. His disciples from the Ji sect have mostly been deified, and a large number of them have come to our Western Buddhism. Buddha shook his head. So what should we do next? Should we consult the sage? The saints are currently in seclusion, let's not disturb them for now. The Immortal slaughtering formation is a formation that existed since the primordial era, explaining it to them wouldn't be of much use. We could talk to that mischievous monkey instead. Let's see if we can get anything out of him. The Buddha said Amitabha. Guanyin didn't really want to face that arrogant and unruly monkey, but considering that it concerned the great prosperity of Buddhism, he could only go over and take another look. Sun Wukong, what's with the formation above the Five Elements Mountain? Guanyin, stepping on a radiant lotus platform, reappeared at Wuzi Mountain. This time, because Guanyin had something to say, his tone was much gentler. What's it to you? Sun Wukong immediately retorted to Guanyin. This Immortal slaughtering formation floating in the air is one of the 10 ancient formations. This formation is designed to deal with stubborn monsters. If you can't break this formation, you'll be trapped here forever. Guanyin spoke earnestly, seemingly considering Sun Wukong's well-being. Sun Wukong sneered inwardly upon hearing Guanyin's words. That sounds so nice. They act like they're doing him a favor, but they probably think he's a fool. Who set up this Immortal slaughtering formation for me, old son? Was it that damned Buddha? Shameless. Wait till I get out of here, and I'll pounce on him with my golden cudgel. Sun Wukong spoke in an extremely arrogant and domineering manner. Guanyin frowned deeply upon hearing Sun Wukong's words, wanting to get angry, but remembering that he had come to probe Sun Wukong for information, he held back. This formation wasn't set up by Buddha. Buddha's original intention was simply to suppress you under the Five Fingers Mountain and rid you of your bad habits. Chapter 6. Don't try to fool me, old son. If it wasn't the work of that dog Buddha, then who was it? Is he afraid that I, old son, will destroy his great thunderclap temple after I leave? Sun Wukong shouted loudly. Its body struggled violently, as if it were about to break free from the shackles of the Five-Finger Mountain. The mountain suddenly trembled, golden light radiated from all around, and spiritual energy pierced through the sky. The area within a radius of tens of thousands of miles was affected. Guanyin frowned, slightly displeased. The Buddha is the leader of Western Buddhism, yet this unruly monkey calls him Dog Buddha repeatedly, which is utterly outrageous. But thinking of his mission, he took a deep breath and said calmly, Wukong, stop fooling around. Everything the Buddha did was for your own good. That's why he imprisoned you under the Five Elements Mountain. Only after your demonic energy is eliminated can you receive great fortune. You mustn't blame the Buddha for this. Sun Wukong sneered inwardly. If he weren't so familiar with the prehistoric era and the journey to the West, he might have truly believed it. However, the truth is that he was tricked by the great beings of the heavens. After all, he was a stone left behind by Nuwa when she mended the sky, a spiritual stone monkey that absorbed the essence of the sun and moon. Their talent and potential go without saying. However, Sun Wukong was tricked by the gods and Buddhas, from being brought to the heavenly court to causing havoc in the heavenly palace, and even to going to the western paradise to obtain the scriptures. Everything was part of a plan. His extraordinary potential and talent were completely wasted. He could have achieved unparalleled dominance, but in the end, he only became a minor fighting Buddha. No fighting. No contention. It's utterly ridiculous just thinking about it. He now sees through everything. Want to scheme against him again? Ha! Not a chance. But now is not the time to completely break off relations. Sun Wukong extended one hand and bowed. Thank you for your concern, Buddha and Guanyin Bodhisattva. Although I wish to be freed from this world, the immortal slaughtering formation is extremely powerful, rendering me completely immobile. I, old son, initially believed it was the work of Buddha, intended to keep me obediently under the 5 elements mountain. But who would have thought that the one who set up the immortal slaughtering formation was someone else entirely? How strange! How strange! Guanyin frowned, thinking to herself. Broke in. What if even Sun Wukong doesn't know who did it? Is this great revival of Buddhism going to be ruined? Wukong. Have you noticed anything unusual before? Now you must gather all the clues and find the person who set up the formation as soon as possible before you can be released. Otherwise, you will be trapped here forever. It will also cause indelible damage to oneself, this must not be taken lightly. Guanyin spoke calmly, as if she truly had Sun Wukong's best interests at heart. But how could Sun Wukong not know that the appearance of the immortal slaughtering formation had completely disrupted the plans of Western Buddhism? They're just panicking now. They feared he truly wouldn't be able to be reborn, and that the reincarnation of Jin Shanzi wouldn't be able to travel to the west to retrieve the scriptures. Seeing Guanyin's concerned gaze, Sun Wukong inwardly sneered. Acting? He can too. Sun Wukong scratched his head and said in distress, I once peed in the mountain and found that it was different from usual. Guanyin's lips twitched, this unusual behavior was truly speechless, but he endured it in order to find clues. What's unusual about it? Peeing isn't as smooth as before, it feels like something's blocking it. How strange! How strange! This really annoys me, old son. Pfft! The Buddha, standing nearby, couldn't help but laugh. Chapter 7. Guanyin was annoyed and glared at the Buddha. Then, his tone became more serious as he said, You impudent monkey, stop talking nonsense. Such an important matter cannot be treated lightly. If we don't find a clue, you'll be trapped here forever, and no one can save you. What should we do? Sun Wukong scratched his head again. Etc. Once, in my dream, I vaguely saw a figure on 5 Elements Mountain, but it vanished in an instant. I, old son, initially thought I was just hallucinating from being trapped for too long. Guanyin frowned. Sun Wukong's words were as good as nothing, offering absolutely no clues. Even if the Buddha were to calculate it, the lack of clues might ultimately lead to failure. Just as he was troubled, the Buddha, standing nearby, said, Why don't we use magic to help him escape? Although there is a slaying immortals formation on 5 Elements Mountain, such ancient formations are extremely powerful, and setting them up is no easy task. But only a few days have passed, and the immortal slaughtering formation has already appeared. This shows that the other side hasn't put in the effort, it might just be a decoy to make us believe it's real. But if we take action, we will surely defeat it. The Buddha grew more and more confident as he spoke, surrounded by golden light. A huge disc appeared on the back of his head, highlighting his immense magical power. Guanyin's gaze darkened slightly. He seemed to be thinking. Good. Guanyin held a jade bottle in her hand, and with a willow branch, she lightly touched the celestial dew in the bottle. With a flick of her hand, the celestial dew fell like rain, sprinkling onto the 5 elements mountain. Each drop is as precious as jade. The land, long blessed with sweet rain, was instantly filled with vitality, and many trees and flowers quickly grew on the 5 elements mountain. Full of life and brimming with vitality. Sun Wukong was overjoyed. The elixir of immortality was guided into the body, leaving it feeling as if it had been cleansed. Wukong, I will now help you escape your predicament. If we join forces, both internally and externally, we will surely break the immortal slaughtering formation in one fell swoop. Seeing this, Sun Wukong sneered inwardly, but outwardly he pretended to cooperate. Of course. Of course. Immortal dew is primordial rain and dew, capable of cleansing the body and mind, guiding one to the Dao, aiding demons in their transformation, and reviving all things. But now it flows freely. The area within a radius of 10,000 miles of 5 elements mountain suddenly became vibrant with life. The vegetation grew at a speed visible to the naked eye, and what was once a barren land is now full of life. It's like a paradise on earth. As the immortal dew fell, Sun Wukong roared in fury. Ah! The 5 elements mountain shook violently, and the number of falling rocks suddenly increased. Furthermore, with Sun Wukong enveloped in golden light, he resembled a ferocious beast unleashed from its cage. Guanyin was overjoyed upon seeing this. The fairy dew falls like it's free. Whenever the celestial dew falls, Sun Wukong shines with golden light, even more dazzling than the sun. After several attempts, Guanyin also realized that something was wrong. The commotion was quite significant, but it had no practical significance whatsoever. This was far from what he had expected. He glanced at the jade bottle. The immortal dew was almost gone. He couldn't afford to squander it any longer. This immortal dew had countless uses and couldn't be wasted. But it was as if they had sensed Guanyin's wavering. Sun Wukong shouted, almost. Almost. I, old son, feel like I can move again soon. Thank goodness. Hurry. Give me, old son, another helping hand. Ah! Bodhisattva, why don't you hurry and go to heaven to get reinforcements? I, old son, will be able to get out soon. Don't let me miss this opportunity. I, old son, don't want to be trapped here forever. Reminded by Sun Wukong, Guanyin suddenly realized why he should waste the celestial dew. Wouldn't it be better to go and get reinforcements? Few in Western Buddhism possess such magical abilities, but the heavenly court has quite a few. Given his influence, the Jade Emperor wouldn't necessarily refuse him. With a thought, the lotus platform shone with a forjong light. Wukong, I'll be right back. Chapter 8. After Guanyin left, Sun Wukong breathed a sigh of relief, finally managing to fool her. Although this was not a long-term solution, it was only after the Western Buddhist sect and all the gods and Buddhas discovered the deception. He has already become a saint. Who will be his opponent then? Ding! The system has issued a sign-in task. Staying at 5 Elements Mountain for 10 days successfully. Rewards: a great Dao Body. 100 caddies of immortal dew. 10,000 merits. 1 9,000-year-old peach of immortality. Hiss! Just as I expected. The check-in time is getting longer and longer. After checking in for 1 day, you need to check in for 3 days. Now, they've been signing in for 10 days straight. Will it take longer and longer? 1 month? 1 year? 10 years? This isn't impossible, it's just taking longer and longer. Heavenly Court. Inside the Ling Xiao Palace, the Jade Emperor sat firmly on the high platform. The Jade Emperor was the supreme leader of the Heavenly Court, just like an emperor on earth. Full name: Haoshan Jingke Wushangs Hizun Ziran Miao Maluos Hichen Yahuang Shangdi. The most common title is Jade Emperor. A celestial general entered the Ling Xiao Palace and reporting. Guanyin Bodhisattva of the South Sea requests an audience. The Jade Emperor was quite surprised. Only a few years had passed since Sun Wukong's havoc in the heavenly palace, so why was Guanyin Bodhisattva of the South Sea requesting an audience? Is something the matter? The Jade Emperor said, summon them. Guanyin Bodhisattva of the South Sea entered the Lingxiao Palace on her lotus throne and said without joy or sorrow, Greetings, Jade Emperor. The Jade Emperor asked in confusion, What brings you here, Great Master? The mischievous monkey Sun Wukong has been subdued, you should be preparing for the journey to the west. What business do you have with me this time? Guanyin clasped her hands together and said, Amitabha. I report to the Jade Emperor, this humble monk was ordered by the Buddha to go to the Five Elements Mountain to chant sutras to rid Sun Wukong of his demonic aura, but I was obstructed on my way there. Firstly, that mischievous monkey is unruly and has repeatedly obstructed and refused to cooperate. Secondly, the shadow of the ancient immortal slaughtering formation, one of the 10 great formations, was discovered on Five Elements Mountain. Fearing unforeseen circumstances, Buddha and I wish to request the Jade Emperor to dispatch a thunder god to assist in breaking the formation and freeing that mischievous monkey. The immortal slaughtering formation? A hint of surprise flashed in the Jade Emperor's eyes. As the ruler of the primordial world, he naturally knew that such a formation could not be broken without the intervention of a sage. But why did Guanyin specifically want to send the thunder god to assist? Great Bodhisattva Guanyin, it's not that I'm unwilling to assist, but if it truly is the immortal slaughtering formation, even if we personally intervene, we might not be able to break it. Isn't that a bit too pointless? Guanyin chanted a Buddhist prayer, then said calmly, Amitabha. Jade Emperor, please allow this humble monk to continue. The immortal slaughtering formation is the foremost killing formation of antiquity, and is even known as the first formation used by Pangu to create the world. In ancient times, the Tongtian sect leader set up the immortal slaughtering formation, but that's absolutely impossible now. Therefore, this humble monk suspects that this is not the real immortal slaughtering formation. It has the charm, but not the power. The Jade Emperor fell into deep thought. The Tongtian sect leader possesses the 4 swords of Xuxian and the Xuxian formation diagram, but setting up the Xuxian formation is no easy task. He would not have gone to such lengths unless absolutely necessary. This shows that the immortal slaughtering formation on Five Elements Mountain might be a replica. While the Jade Emperor remained silent, Guanyin pressed her advantage, saying, If this matter is resolved, Western Buddhism will owe you a karmic debt. If you ever need assistance in the future, Buddha Tathagata will surely provide it. Very well. I grant your permission. The Jade Emperor agreed without hesitation. Although the heavenly court was his personal fiefdom, his life was not easy. The other emperors and the Queen Mother of the West were becoming increasingly powerful, and apart from the righteous gods who had been appointed to invest the gods, he had no one else to rely on. However, many of the righteous gods are members of the Ji sect. The majority of the immortals were not convinced by him, and he also had his own calculations. The birth of Sun Wukong was more beneficial than harmful to him. Chapter 9. Where are the Thunder God and Lightning Goddess? The Jade Emperor's divine thoughts transmitted across millions of miles. A moment later, images of the Thunder God and Lightning Goddess appeared in the Lingxiao Palace. They respectfully addressed the Jade Emperor from a distance of millions of miles, saying, What are your orders, Jade Emperor? You two go to the Five Elements Mountain to assist Guanyin Bodhisattva of the South Sea. Obey all orders from Guanyin Bodhisattva. The Thunder God and Lightning Goddess hesitated for a moment before nodding in agreement. Five Elements Mountain. At this moment, the Thunder God and Lightning Goddess reunited with Guanyin. We too have come to assist you on the orders of the Jade Emperor. Please feel free to give us any instructions, said the Thunder God and Lightning Goddess, bowing respectfully. Guanyin clasped her hands together and said, Excellent. Both of you should exert all your strength, hopefully you can break the formation on Five Elements Mountain. The Thunder God and the Lightning Goddess exchanged a glance. They exchanged a silent glance. Although they were not inwardly opposed to being sent here by imperial decree, they were filled with doubt. What kind of formation required the two of them to break? Could it be that even Guanyin Bodhisattva couldn't break the formation? They remembered that the Five Elements Mountain was the place where the Monkey King, who had once wreaked havoc in the heavenly palace, was suppressed. So what was the meaning of this? The two were completely baffled. We too have come under orders, and we will certainly do our utmost. Please rest assured, Guanyin Bodhisattva. Lei Gong is the god of thunder who governs the heavenly court. His magic weapon is the thunder god's chisel. He has a bird-like face and a thunder god's beak, with a pair of wings on his back. He exudes a righteous aura and looks quite majestic. The goddess of lightning, who oversees lightning in the heavenly court, wields two lightning mirrors as her magical implements. She has a rather majestic appearance and is married to the god of thunder. The two joined forces. Suddenly, dark clouds gathered, and a fierce wind howled. The thunder and lightning were deafening. This commotion alerted Sun Wukong, who was hiding inside the Five Elements Mountain. Did they summon the thunder god and lightning goddess from heaven? These two are really going all out, coming at me with their full strength right from the start. Are they trying to kill me? Sun Wukong appeared quietly, dispelled his transformation magic, and revealed his true form. When he looked closely, a pillar-shaped bolt of lightning struck down from 10,000 meters in the sky. Lightning ripped through the sky, radiating dazzling light, illuminating the area for thousands of miles around the Five Elements Mountain. Sun Wukong felt a surge of tension. He was fearless of thunder and lightning, but this sudden strike made him, despite his usually strong will, tremble slightly inside. However, as the lightning struck, it was all absorbed by the Immortal slaughtering formation. The next second, for some unknown reason, the lightning that was being rapidly absorbed by the Immortal slaughtering formation was guided into his body, causing his body to glow brightly. In order to avoid being discovered, Sun Wukong struggled fiercely once again. But inside, he was absolutely ecstatic. This Immortal slaughtering formation is quite interesting. It's the number one killing formation from ancient times, its power is evident, yet now it's absorbing lightning and channeling it into my body. More! More! Sun Wukong's inner cry. They did a very good job of putting on a show. It perfectly illustrates the actions of someone trying to escape. As he struggles violently, the Five Elements Mountain trembles like never before. However, the Immortal slaughtering formation remained unchanged. This behavior left the Thunder God and Lightning Goddess completely bewildered. What kind of formation is this? At this moment, they were completely unaware that this was the Immortal slaughtering formation once used by the Tongtian sect leader. Perhaps they had been living in comfort for too long and had forgotten the most famous formation from the investiture of the Gods' War. Guanyin frowned. Strange. Strange. The mountain has already loosened, and with the bombardment from the Thunder God and the pincer attack from within and without by Sun Wukong, it should have been breached by now, but why? Fearing that someone would discover something was wrong, Sun Wukong shouted loudly, "Almost! Almost! Thunder God and Lightning Goddess! Guanyin Bodhisattva! Don't hold back on me, old son! Go all out!" Chapter 10. The Thunder God and Lightning Goddess struck for 7 days and 7 nights. Bathed in lightning, Sun Wukong's aura hinted at a breakthrough, but to cooperate with the performance, he had already shaken the Five Elements Mountain countless times. The mountain was constantly trembling. Earthquakes occur frequently within a radius of thousands of miles. However, upon closer inspection, one can find that, despite the considerable commotion, not a single part of the structure was damaged. The heavens outside were filled with overwhelming power. The Five Elements Mountain is teeming with spiritual energy. Ding! Congratulations, host, you have successfully checked in for 10 days at Wuzishan. Reward, a great Dao Body. Innate Dao Body. A reward of 100 caddies of Immortal Dew. A reward of 10,000 merit points. A peach from the heavenly plains, made 9,000 years ago, will be awarded as a reward. The system series of rewards, like sugar-coated bullets, showered Sun Wukong with surprises. The merits and the immortal do need no further explanation. He ate quite a few of the 9,000-year-old peaches when he wreaked havoc in the heavenly palace, but he doesn't think there are too many now. As for the Dao Body, although this innate Dao Body is not the most outstanding physique, it can still be said to be first class. When Sun Wukong burst forth from the divine stone, his entire life was filled with schemes against him, his extraordinary potential and talent were destroyed, and his spirituality was completely worn away. Everything was planned. However, it's just a play put on by all the gods and Buddhas. A play for the rise of Western Buddhism. But Sun Wukong was a victim in it all. Despite his inner rage, Sun Wukong deeply understood that hiding was the best outcome for him. The great Dao Body has made up for the talent and potential he lost before. Immortal Do and merit can both help him break through. As for the 9,000-year-old peach, it can only be used as a fruit to satisfy his craving now. It's no longer of much use to him. They ate peaches of immortality and drank celestial dew. Occasionally, they would cooperate with actors in acting roles outside the film industry. This feeling is wonderful. Not to mention, Guanyin and the Thunder God and Lightning Goddess leaped and bounded on the Five Elements Mountain as if performing a monkey show, but had no effect whatsoever on the immortal slaughtering formation. If it weren't for Sun Wukong's cooperation, there was absolutely no sound. A massive, sky-covering bolt of lightning struck down, but ultimately made no sound. It was all absorbed by the immortal slaughtering formation. The lightning even entered Sun Wukong's body. 7 days and 7 nights had passed since the attack began, and apart from violent tremors, the Five Elements Mountain showed no other damage or changes. The Thunder God and Lightning Goddess exchanged a glance, both showing a hint of astonishment in their eyes. They were both completely dumbfounded. Their cultivation levels weren't particularly high, but they were the main gods of the Thunder Department of the Heavenly Court, in charge of thunder and lightning. The power of heavenly thunder was evident, and ordinary monsters wouldn't dare to touch it lightly. As long as the two of them work together, they can summon the heavenly lightning. Even a Tai Golden Immortal would have to give way. But now, they cleaved the Five Elements Mountain for 7 days and 7 nights. But there was nothing unusual about it. While I was shocked, I also had a slight doubt. Since the Five Elements Mountain trembled, it shouldn't have been completely unharmed. Could it be that? Were they being harassed? The Thunder God and Lightning Goddess's eyes widened. That mischievous monkey. They both understood. This was definitely Sun Wukong's doing. Heavenly lightning is incredibly powerful, and almost nothing can withstand it, except perhaps a primordial spiritual treasure. However, although the Five Elements Mountain was created by magic, it does not possess the power to completely withstand heavenly lightning. Moreover, earthquakes occur within a radius of tens of thousands of miles centered on the Five Elements Mountain. That made quite a commotion. Yet it wasn't damaged in the slightest. If they said this wasn't done by Sun Wukong, neither of them would believe it even if they were beaten to death. Chapter 11. You little rascal! How dare you toy with us? Lei Gong was furious. Although he was not particularly strong, he was a righteous god of the Thunder Department and the god of thunder who ruled the heavenly court. All the immortals and gods would give him a wide berth. Not to mention all sorts of demons and monsters. Demons and monsters need to rely on the Thunder God, whose thunder has the power of destruction, as well as the power to transform demons and monsters. From this, we can see that although Lei Gong is not very powerful, he is the main god of thunder in the heavenly court and the god in charge of thunder. When he wields the hammer and drill of Lei Gong, he is acting on behalf of the heavenly way. Its meaning will then be different. The Thunder God and the Lightning Goddess exchanged a glance. The two nodded slightly. They refused to believe in superstition, even working together, they couldn't split the 5 elements mountain? They are acting on behalf of heaven. When Sun Wukong wreaked havoc in the heavenly palace, the two of them did join forces, and to outsiders, their power was indeed extraordinary. However, only the two of them knew that it was nothing more than a show, and the true power of the heavens was never displayed. Otherwise, with Sun Wukong's strength, he would have had no way to escape the bombardment of the Thunder God and Lightning Goddess. But this time it's different. They were sent by the Jade Emperor to assist Guanyin Bodhisattva of the South Sea, and Guanyin instructed them to break the formation on the 5 Elements Mountain. 7 days and 7 nights have now passed. Centered on the 5 Elements Mountain, the area within a radius of tens of thousands of miles was shaking, yet it remained completely unharmed, an outcome that seemed like a cruel joke. This was something they simply couldn't accept. The goddess of lightning composed herself, looking at the 2 lightning mirrors in her hands, and said, "God of thunder, we may have overlooked the key to the problem. Since Guanyin went to the heavenly court to seek reinforcements, it means that the formation on 5 Elements Mountain is not simple. Whether it's true or false, it's not something that can be easily debunked. We must not be careless. Yes. A formation that could leave even Guanyin Bodhisattva of the South Sea helpless must be extraordinary, it cannot be simple." Lei Gong's expression was unusually serious. "We must go all out, otherwise, if the 3 realms find out, it will become a laughing stock for both of us." They hadn't truly taken the formation on 5 Elements Mountain seriously, believing that their power as thunder gods was enough to easily break it. But little did they know that the formation was no ordinary one. The thunder god channeled his thunderous power, striking the ground with his hammer. Thunder, like a giant dragon, rained down from the sky, blotting out the sun and obscuring the entire heavens, leaving only the silhouette of the thunderous dragon visible. Lei Lai. The dragon seemed to be an ancient mythical beast. Charge into the formation on 5 Elements Mountain with invincible force. Dark clouds covered the sky, and lightning flashed and thunder roared. The sky seemed to have collapsed. As the thunder dragon charged, boundless lightning began to gather around the thunder god, instantly transforming into a thunder pool where endless lightning was accumulating. Standing amidst the thunderous abyss, one feels like an ancient colossus. One after another, thunder dragons appeared, all circling around the thunder god. The might of heaven is overwhelming. Everyone was on edge, such divine might was enough to make anyone tremble with fear. But I wonder if we can break the formation on 5 Elements Mountain? Thunder God! Are you planning to take this opportunity to kill me, old son? I, old son, have no grudge against you, yet you're doing something despicable. Sun Wukong shouted. Faced with this boundless thunder pool and the thunder dragons leaping across it, Sun Wukong seemed utterly terrified. Secretly, he was extremely pleased. The formation on 5 Elements Mountain is the Immortal slaughtering formation. If it could be broken so easily, wouldn't it be nothing more than a name without substance? Chapter 12. Lei Gong's thunderbolts not only failed to break the Immortal slaughtering formation, but also lent him a helping hand. When the thunderbolts struck the Immortal slaughtering formation, they were quietly neutralized. Then the power of thunder flowed into Sun Wukong's body, and the vast power nourished his body. Sun Wukong was originally a spiritual stone monkey transformed from a divine stone, possessing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, and sculpted by the essence of the sun and moon. Although they were plotted against by all the gods and Buddhas. Despite the loss of his spiritual essence and the damage to his once powerful cultivation and body, his physical condition was still significantly stronger than that of an ordinary immortal. You must understand, this happened in the primordial era. The gods and Buddhas then forged their bodies into spiritual treasures, and the strength of their bodies could be classified according to the level of these spiritual treasures. Ling Bao can be divided into acquired Ling Bao, acquired supreme treasure, acquired merit supreme treasure, innate merit supreme treasure, innate Ling Bao, innate supreme treasure, and chaos supreme treasure. The Immortal Slaughtering Sword and the Immortal Slaughtering Formation are innate supreme treasures. Sun Wukong's body is now equivalent to a supreme treasure of innate merit. With the infusion of lightning, it intensifies every second. Faced with the thunderous roar, Sun Wukong appeared panicked, but inwardly he was secretly delighted. However, the Buddha and Guanyin, however, did not think so. Oh no! Guanyin ascended to her lotus throne, intending to stop the thunder god. With these thunderbolts raining down, the area spanning hundreds of thousands of miles will be razed to the ground, let alone the Five Elements Mountain. In fact, the Five Elements Mountain stands firm. However, Sun Wukong, who was imprisoned under the Five Elements Mountain, might be destroyed by the lightning strikes. Such things happen. Doesn't this mean that his plan for the flourishing of Buddhism will completely fall through like a bubble? He disagrees. The Buddha disagreed even more. The Buddhas of the West would certainly not agree. Thunder God, don't be impulsive, the lightning goddess cried anxiously. We're only here to provide assistance, and besides, don't kill that monkey. Otherwise, we'll be committing a grave sin. Lei Gong ignored him. Now the die is cast and cannot be cast. If it had been stopped in time, even he could have been seriously injured. It's no longer something you can simply stop doing whenever you want. A barrage of dragons. Tens of thousands of thunder dragons fell into the Five Elements Mountain at once. Rumble. The earth trembled. The Immortal Slaughtering Formation emitted a dazzling light. Everyone was shocked. With such devastating heavenly thunder, could that mischievous monkey possibly survive? This raises a question mark. But just then, a silver-white thunder dragon soared into the sky. It struck directly at the thunder god. Before Lei Gong could react, the silver-white thunder dragon pierced through his body, causing him to cough up a mouthful of blood. The thunder and lightning vanished instantly. Everyone present was shocked. What's going on? The thunder god, the god of thunder, was actually injured by lightning? This can't be a joke, can it? Guanyin abruptly stopped in her tracks, glancing hesitantly at Lei Gong and the Five Elements Mountain, as if she wanted to say something but hesitated. This is quite unexpected. While everyone was stunned, Sun Wukong, however, was secretly delighted beneath the Five Elements Mountain. Snort! You dare to chop me up, you old grandson! Although your thunder dragon can make my body stronger, you still want to kill me. If I don't punish you a little, you won't know how powerful I am. Sun Wukong is quite arrogant. The thunderbolts that filled the sky were neutralized by the Immortal Slaughtering Formation. Finally, all the thunderbolts slowly flowed into the Five Elements Mountain before falling into Sun Wukong's body. Now, the Five Elements Mountain is filled with thunder. Sun Wukong has obtained the body of the great Dao, and now he is using heavenly lightning to temper his divine body. Such a benefit is extremely rare and hard to come by. Chapter 13. At this moment, the atmosphere at Five Elements Mountain was somewhat subtle. The Thunder God and the Lightning Goddess struck for 7 days and 7 nights, with the Thunder God ultimately unleashing the 12 forms of thunder, almost exhausting all his strength. This is indeed quite strange. Could this really be the Immortal Slaughtering Formation? The Thunder God and Lightning Goddess were quite powerless and genuinely unwilling to accept defeat. But there was nothing they could do. Continuing this will only make them a laughingstock, and neither of them wants to become a laughingstock in the 3 realms. The two exchanged a glance. They cupped their hands in a respectful gesture towards Guanyin and said, "We too are powerless against this formation. Guanyin Bodhisattva has also seen it. We have exhausted all our strength, but there are indeed some strange aspects to this formation. We hereby resign." What else could Guanyin say? The Thunder God and Lightning Goddess have exhausted all their strength. This is obvious to everyone, others have already put in a real effort, so he can't blame anyone else. So he nodded and said, "This humble monk thanks the Thunder God and Lightning Goddess for their help." Without saying much, the Thunder God and Lightning Goddess packed up their tools and headed towards the heavenly court. Guanyin's eyes were downcast. Even with his countless calculations, he was now somewhat uncertain. Was this truly the work of the Immortal slaughtering formation? Was it the work of that mischievous monkey? If the Immortal slaughtering formation and the mysterious figure were responsible, then this mischievous monkey should have cooperated fully. However, his various actions suggest that he was the one causing trouble. I wonder what this mischievous monkey is up to. But if we're talking about what that mischievous monkey did. But then again, it doesn't quite make sense. He could never have schemed against so many, much less possess such power. If he hasn't yet been outmaneuvered, then the Spirit Stone Monkey's talent is limitless. His strength is far more than just that of a Tai Golden Immortal. After careful consideration, Guanyin decided that the priority was to appease Sun Wukong. Wukong, there's no need to panic. This formation is quite powerful, even the combined might of the Thunder God and Lightning Goddess couldn't break it. Now, this humble monk wishes to go and fetch reinforcements. Wukong, do not panic. While I'm going to fetch reinforcements, Wukong can also try to break this formation. The longer you stay within it, the more dangerous it will be for you. This should not be underestimated. Guanyin once again appeared to be acting as if she were doing it for Sun Wukong's own good. Sun Wukong sneered inwardly. But she also accepted Guanyin's words. Thank you, Bodhisattva. Thank you, Bodhisattva. Bodhisattva, please help this old Sun Wukong escape his predicament. That's natural. Guanyin left, and the Buddha, who was with her, also left. Seeing that everyone had left, Sun Wukong secretly spat. What the hell is that? I, old Sun, will play along with you for now. When I have the strength to fight you, that will be the day all of you gods and Buddhas fall. I will make you experience the true Ragnarok. The 5 Elements Mountain fell silent. But this was only a superficial calm. The 5 Elements Mountain was filled with thunder, with lightning constantly swirling around it, as if some rare and precious treasure was about to be born. Strange celestial phenomena are occurring frequently. Sun Wukong possesses the body of the great Dao, and at this moment, absorbing the lightning within the 5 Elements Mountain, his physical strength shows a faint trend of breaking through. It is now equivalent to a supreme treasure of innate merit. Now that it has absorbed the lightning, it is poised to break through to the peak. The destructive force of lightning, however, contains the potential for life. When the 5 Elements Mountain was surrounded by lightning, the surrounding vegetation not only escaped destruction but also flourished even more. There is a subtle tendency for it to develop sentience. All the plants and trees bowed in worship, seemingly with the 5 Elements Mountain at its head. No, it should be said that Sun Wukong was at its head. It's as if Sun Wukong is their emperor. Chapter 14. Time flies, and several days have passed just like that. All the lightning within the 5 Elements Mountain was absorbed by Sun Wukong. He discovered that the source of lightning he controlled was extremely pure, and the lightning after he absorbed it had no violent aura at all, but was very gentle. The surrounding plants and trees, blessed by Sun Wukong, began to develop sentience. Given time, someone with good fortune might even be able to cultivate into human form. As for Sun Wukong's physical strength, it has officially reached the peak of acquired merit treasures. Breaking through to the innate spiritual treasure realm is just around the corner. That day, suddenly, the quiet 5 Elements Mountain was filled with a brilliant purple light. Suddenly, the surroundings were filled with the sounds of birds and the fragrance of flowers. Petals could be faintly seen blooming in the sky. Upon witnessing this extraordinary phenomenon, Sun Wukong was filled with astonishment. Hey! Which fairy has descended upon us? A fairy has actually come to this god-forsaken place. A miracle! A miracle! Sun Wukong didn't use his divine sense to investigate, not because it was impossible, but simply because he was too lazy to look. Sun Wukong was the great sage equal to heaven. Now, with the Immortal slaughtering formation as his trump card, none of the gods and Buddhas in the heavens can do anything to him. No matter who comes to his territory, he is fearless. Moreover, she is merely a fairy from one region. It's truly rare for a fairy to come to Five Elements Mountain. Petals and blades of grass converged, eventually transforming into a figure slender and graceful, as if she had stepped out of a painting. She's absolutely gorgeous. Like a celestial being. And it looks kind of familiar. With just one glance, Sun Wukong was able to roughly guess the other party's identity. Because when the other party appeared, I had a slight feeling, and this feeling only appeared on one person, and that person was Fairy Zixia. That was a crepe myrtle that had absorbed the essence of the sun and moon together with his original form, and had taken shape together. This humble immortal pays respects to the great sage. The Fairy Zixia, dressed in flowing purple robes, was surrounded by a wisp of purple aura. Her eyes shone even brighter, and her beauty was beyond words. She stood there, and the newly sprouted flowers and plants around her paled in comparison. However, wherever Fairy Zixia's gaze fell, there was nothing but Sun Wukong. Although her face held a hint of aloofness, her eyes held a trace of admiration. The person who came was Fairy Zixia. When Sun Wukong was still inside the stone, a blade of grass that jumped out from beside the stone absorbed a trace of essence leaking out from the spiritual stone and the essence of the sun and moon, and as a result, she actually became an immortal. Now she's even become a flower fairy by the side of the Queen Mother of the West. She's incredibly fortunate. Sun Wukong didn't think much of Zixia Fairy's gaze, and instead asked, "Zixia Fairy, what brings you here?" "I just came to see you. This is my homemade 100 flowers wine, for you, great sage." Fairy Zixia waved her hand and took out a jar of 100 flower wine. This 100 flower wine was something she had accumulated over many years under the Queen Mother's command, and she was reluctant to use it. But she was very willing to give it to Sun Wukong. Seeing that the great sage was trapped under the Five Elements Mountain and unable to move, the little fairy sent him some 100 flower wine so that he could satisfy his cravings while he was trapped under the mountain. Although this 100 flowers wine is not worthy of the great sage's attention, please accept it, it is a token of my humble offering. Even though Sun Wukong is currently imprisoned under the Five Elements Mountain, to Fairy Zixia, he is still her great sage equal to heaven. Even all the gods and Buddhas in the heavens could not compare to the Sun Wukong in her heart. Because he was different to her. She looked at Sun Wukong with expectant eyes. Chapter 15. 100 Flowers Brew is a delicious wine brewed by the 100 flower fairies under the Queen Mother of the West, and it was a tribute to all the gods and immortals in the heavens. Although it is extremely precious, it has little effect on cultivation. Especially Sun Wukong at this moment. On the contrary, the 100 flowers wine had a huge effect on Fairy Zixia. However, unable to refuse Fairy Zixia's hospitality, Sun Wukong did not stand on ceremony and simply waved his hand, accepting the 100 flower wine. "Thank you for the gift, Fairy. I, old Sun, also have a gift to offer, please accept it." A jar of immortal fat appeared in his hand. Before Fairy Zixia could refuse, the fairy dew had already appeared in her hand. Fairy Zixia did not object. A hint of a smile even flashed in his eyes. "This will enhance your cultivation. After you drink it, I will impart to you the great Dao laws." Fairy Zixia obeyed Sun Wukong's words without question and drank the fairy dew directly. She immediately felt her spiritual energy rapidly increasing. At the same time, Sun Wukong waved his hand, and a beam of light entered Zixia Fairy's mind, followed by a bolt of lightning that entered her body. That light was Sun Wukong's enlightenment of the great Dao. Now it is given to Fairy Zixia. Suddenly, the light shone brightly. Fairy Zixia was surrounded by purple light. In the blink of an eye, he broke through from a celestial immortal to a true immortal. Although Fairy Zixia is a flower fairy under the Queen Mother of the West, she is still just a celestial being. Now, she has absorbed Sun Wukong's insights into the great Dao. It's a leap forward, a whole new level. He became a true immortal. When Fairy Zixia slowly opened her eyes, they were filled with disbelief. She just broke through like that? She went from a celestial being to a true immortal? It's a complete leap across a whole new realm? How did they do that? Zixia Fairy could not hide her surprise. At this moment, she was nothing but shocked. At the same time, she was also deeply moved. Insights into the great Dao are not so easily given away, it's like cutting off a piece of her own flesh. This action stirred up a storm within her. Seemingly unable to bear Zixia Fairy's gaze, Sun Wukong said somewhat impatiently, "Fairy, please don't misunderstand. I, old son, have a favor to ask. This enlightenment is for a reward." Sun Wukong said bluntly, "I would like to ask the fairy to go to Flower Fruit Mountain and help me find a way to bring the monkeys and their offspring here." Bring the monkeys and their offspring from Flower Fruit Mountain here. Are we just going to put them under the 5 Elements Mountain? Even Sun Wukong himself is in dire straits now. And above him are Buddha and the Jade Emperor. Zixia Fairy was a little confused when Sun Wukong asked her to go to Flower Fruit Mountain and bring her monkey followers. Despite her confusion, she would still fulfill Sun Wukong's requests. Fairy Zixia's eyes sparkled as she gracefully bowed and said, "Please rest assured, great sage, this humble fairy will make a trip to Flower Fruit Mountain immediately. Take care, great sage." Zixia Fairy's eyes held a hint of reluctance. But in order to fulfill Sun Wukong's request, she had no choice but to leave. With reluctance in her eyes, she turned back every few steps and rode away on a cloud. Sun Wukong was unable to leave the 5 Elements Mountain at this time, everything could only be reclaimed after he left the mountain. For now, we can only remain patient and silent. If one day he achieves mastery of his cultivation, he will emerge from seclusion. That would be a real earthquake. He's practically ripped a hole in the sky. A flash of savagery crossed Sun Wukong's eyes, but it vanished in an instant. Chapter 16. After Fairy Zixia left, Sun Wukong took out the 100 Flowers wine and sipped it. They were about to enter the 5 Elements Mountain. Ding! A sign-in task has been issued. Signing in at the foot of 5 Elements Mountain for 100 days. Sign in successfully and you'll be rewarded with 1 Thunder Law. A reward of 100,000 merit points. Reward, 9 Revolutions Profound Technique. Reward, the Heaven and Earth Profound Yellow Pagoda, a treasure earned through merit. A system notification tone suddenly sounded. Sun Wukong suddenly paused, taken aback. This mission took 10 times longer, and the location remained at the foot of 5 Elements Mountain. It seems the check-in spot has become fixed. There's absolutely no way to change it. The only thing that has changed is the length of time. It's now the 100th day of signing in. Will the next mission be a year long? Or perhaps 3 to 5 years? All of these are possible. Besides the change over time, the rewards have also become increasingly generous. The Law of Thunder can help him break through to the Great Luo Golden Immortal Realm. The 9 Revolutions Mystic Technique, however, allows him to temper his physical body. The benefits of accumulating merit are self-evident. As for the Heaven and Earth Profound Yellow Pagoda, a treasure of acquired merit, it is extremely useful, but its use for him personally is negligible. Most importantly, it can be used on Flower Fruit Mountain. If one possessed the Heaven and Earth Mysterious Yellow Pagoda, there's no need to worry about the safety of Huaguo Mountain for now. Now, it's not just him who needs to lie low. The monkeys and their offspring on Flower Fruit Mountain are the same. We await his birth. This world is fraught with danger, filled with countless gods and Buddhas, as well as powerful demon kings. None of them should be underestimated. The task doesn't need to be done intentionally. As long as it doesn't get born, the mission will be completed. Sun Wukong used an illusion. His true form then entered the 5 Elements Mountain, which he had already transformed into a cave dwelling, a hidden paradise within. He displayed various delicacies and fine wines, some of which were stolen from the heavenly court, and now they could be openly displayed. Nobody saw it. There's no need to share it with others. Of course, this happened when he entered the Five Elements Mountain. His divine thoughts multiplied into countless forms, directly instructing the surrounding lands to gather treasures for him within a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles. Anyone who hands over treasures, everyone can receive his guidance. If there are treasures, do not hand them over. There's no need to say more. As soon as Sun Wukong uttered his words, many local deities presented treasures. Regardless of their value, as long as they contained a trace of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, they were all delivered to him. Could we not send them off? Sun Wukong's divine sense is exceptionally powerful, they are merely local deities. Who knows how long Sun Wukong will stay here? If they offend him, their future will be bleak. They saw that the Five Elements Mountain was full of treasures. He nodded with satisfaction, not bad. Not bad. You old folks are pretty savvy, you didn't make me, old son, have to emphasize it, that's good. One of the local deities bowed and scraped, saying, how dare we ask the great sage to emphasize this again? Even if we had the guts of a bear and the gall of a leopard, we wouldn't dare. Yeah. Since you old codgers have behaved so well, then I, old son, will bestow some good fortune upon you. Don't forget the next task. Sun Wukong unleashed several beams of light. The light entered the earth's body, and then the earth emitted a sliver of light again. After the earth creatures had all opened their eyes, their gazes toward Sun Wukong were exceptionally fervent. It was as if they had spotted some kind of treasure. But in the end, he suppressed it. The numerous land masses looked at each other in bewilderment, and then slowly disappeared from the ground. However, they did not forget their mission, which was to plunder treasures from the surrounding area. Chapter 17. Ever since returning from the trip to the Five Elements Mountain with the Thunder God and Lightning Goddess, they've been haunted by nightmares. I was still somewhat shaken. That kind of formation is terrifying. If the power of thunder is ineffective, it shouldn't cause a counterattack, right? But Lei Gong coughed up blood on the spot. If they suffer another blow, the outcome will be unpredictable. Still shaken by their experience, the Thunder God and Lightning Goddess remained silent about their trip to Five Elements Mountain, refusing to answer any questions from anyone. If the Jade Emperor were to inquire, they would naturally be happy to reply. However, the Jade Emperor never inquired about it from beginning to end, as if the matter had never occurred, which relieved the Thunder God and Lightning Goddess. However, unbeknownst to them, Guanyin had once again come to the heavenly court seeking help. Inside the Ling Xiao Palace, Guanyin clasped her hands together and uttered a Buddhist chant. Amitabha. This humble monk greets the Supreme God of Heaven. When the Jade Emperor saw Guanyin arrive, although he had somewhat anticipated it, he feigned ignorance and asked, "What brings you here today, great Bodhisattva Guanyin?" Guanyin stated directly, "This humble monk has come to borrow someone from the Jade Emperor." "Oh Master, who do you wish to borrow from after closing your doors?" "Master. Wind God, Wind Master. Rain God Chisongzi. The God of Fire, Zirong." The reason for borrowing people this time is self-evident, the Jade Emperor can see through everything. He had already anticipated what would happen. Although he was unwilling to lend money to others, Western Buddhism had helped him when he ascended to the throne, and he personally owed the Western paradise a karmic debt. It's quite obvious that Guanyin Bodhisattva of the South Daxia Sea came prepared. He had no choice but to agree. Buddhism flourished. He didn't want to see this, but he couldn't refuse. Announce. Wind God, Red Pine Master, and Zirong, enter the hall. Thank you, God of Heaven. I have already resolved the karmic debt with you Buddhists. That's natural. Soon after, Feng Bo, Qi Songzi, and Zhu Rong rode the clouds into the Ling Xiao Palace, followed closely by Lei Gong and Dian Mu. Why has the Jade Emperor summoned us here? The Jade Emperor sat firmly on his high platform, glanced at Guanyin and the Thunder God and Lightning Goddess, and then said, "You few will accompany Guanyin to the Five Elements Mountain, break its formation, and help Sun Wukong escape." This. The group exchanged bewildered glances before finally accepting the order. Seeing that the people had already come to close the gate, Guanyin took the lead and went to the Five Elements Mountain. Arrival. The Thunder God and Lightning Goddess, along with Zhu Rong and others, arrived shortly afterward. However, Zhu Rong and the others heard that the Thunder God and the Lightning Goddess had been to the Five Elements Mountain before, but ultimately failed to break the formation and even returned in a sorry state. Thunder God and Lightning Goddess, are you two just going through the motions? You couldn't even break this simple formation? Have you been too complacent for too long, and your magic power has diminished? If that is indeed the case, then please quickly retreat and return home, relinquishing your position as the righteous god of thunder. Retreat? These people were all righteous gods of the heavenly court. Their statuses were roughly the same, but they belonged to different factions. Upon hearing that their colleague had suffered a setback, Feng Bo, Qi Songzi, and Zhu Rong all mocked him. The Thunder God and Lightning Goddess were furious about this. However, he didn't offer much explanation, though a hint of resentment already lingered in his heart. Therefore, the two did not tell him that the formation on Five Elements Mountain might be the Immortal slaughtering formation. They secretly talked, wanting to see how the three of them would suffer. The Thunder God and Lightning Goddess do not need to intervene on this trip. All that's needed is to lend a hand. This time, the help comes from the gods of wind, rain, and fire. On their way to the Five Elements Mountain, Feng Bo, Qi Songzi, and Zhu Rong mocked Lei Gong and Dian Mu with disdain. It would be a waste of their talents to have these celestial gods work together to break a mere formation. They naturally didn't take him seriously. Chapter 18. Five Elements Mountain. Guanyin floated over on her lotus platform. Gaku. Gaku. Now that you're trapped under the formation, is there anything unusual? Upon hearing Guanyin's voice, Sun Wukong immediately dispelled the illusion, revealing his true form. No, no. This formation is making me, old Sun, so uncomfortable. I can't stretch my head out, I can't stretch my legs out, it's so unpleasant. So unpleasant. Bodhisattva, please let me, old Sun, out. I, old Sun, don't want to stay in this god-forsaken place anymore. I want to get out. Get out. A hint of a smile flashed in Guanyin's eyes. She raised her delicate fingers and said softly, "Wukong, do not be anxious. This humble monk has borrowed the wind god, rain god, and fire god from heaven. They will surely help you escape this predicament." Is that really true? Really? Ha ha ha. Sun Wukong patted his head, appearing exceptionally excited, so much so that the Five Elements Mountain trembled twice. However, he genuinely disdained it. Would he believe such nonsense? Although they knew it was meant to help him escape, it was simply because the appearance of the Immortal slaughtering formation had completely disrupted the Western Buddhism's plans. Otherwise, he. Since Guanyin wants to put on a show, so Sun Wukong played along with him. He's a time traveler, and while he's not particularly skilled in other areas, if he were to excel at acting, he could definitely be considered a movie star. Of course, this was to make Guanyin believe more easily. After the initial excitement subsided, Sun Wukong slammed his fist on the ground. Damn that dog, Buddha! If it weren't for that dog Buddha suppressing me, old Sun, under this Five Elements Mountain, would so many things have happened. No matter how you look at it, it's all his fault. Guanyin Bodhisattva, Guanyin Bodhisattva. Why don't you call that dog Buddha over? I, old Sun, will beat him so badly he'll lose control of his bladder and bowels, or I'm not Sun Wukong. Guanyin's face turned ashen. How dare they utter such treasonous words? There is a will of heaven in the universe. With Tathagata's cultivation, he could know everything that happened here with just a few calculations. If the Buddha knew, wouldn't that be a sin? Guanyin's face was stern as she rebuked, Wukong, how dare you be so rude? The Buddha Tathagata did this for your own good. To eliminate the demonic energy and nature within you, he imprisoned you under the 5 elements mountain. Only by removing these demonic energies and nature can you attain Buddhahood. I, old son, will not become a Buddha. I will not become a Buddha. I'm not done with Buddha. If I don't teach that scoundrel a lesson, I won't be able to calm down. Faced with such an emotionally charged son Wukong, Guanyin secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Although she kept saying that she was not finished with Tathagata, it was still within her expectations. At least they didn't develop any resistance to Buddhism. This is the best possible outcome. Wukong, stop fooling around. A Buddha can be the Buddha of heaven and earth. If you become a Buddha, then the world will prosper, and you alone can protect the people of a region. This is the greatest virtue. To become a Buddha, you must undergo the trials of Buddhism, enduring various hardships, before you can finally become a true Buddha. All the actions of the Buddha are for the sake of all sentient beings, and also for your own good. Wukong, please don't misunderstand. After all that talk, in the end, isn't he still needed to go to the Western Paradise to obtain the scriptures? Complete the predetermined path. Son Wukong sneered inwardly. Since such a foolish thing was foreseen, how could I possibly fall into the same trap again? Although it was all an act, Sun Wukong felt nauseous. These bald monks were truly disgusting and repulsive. What a bunch of hypocrites! Chapter 19. While Sun Wukong and Guanyin were feigning compliance, 5 clouds drifted by. It carries the Thunder God and Lightning Goddess, the Wind God and Wind Master, the Rain God and Red Pine Master, and the Fire God and Fire Virtue Star Lord. Is this the 5 Elements Mountain? Our mission on this trip is to set up the formation on 5 Elements Mountain. Above the clouds of 5 Elements Mountain, the 3 gods looked solemn as they surveyed everything around the 5 Elements Mountain, including Guanyin and Sun Wukong. They could ignore Sun Wukong, but they could not ignore Guanyin. He cupped his hands in a respectful bow from a distance. They are celestial deities, each possessing boundless magical power, yet they are being sent to handle such trivial matters. It's a complete waste of their talents. It's just a simple formation. It actually required the combined efforts of 5 celestial deities. This was an utter disgrace to them. They were all at the peak of the Tai Golden Immortal Realm, which one of them wasn't stronger than the Thunder God and Lightning Goddess. Just comparing their official ranks, they were all 1 level higher than the Thunder God and Lightning Goddess. Things that neither the Thunder God nor the Lightning Goddess can do. That doesn't mean they're incapable. The Thunder God and Lightning Goddess are incompetent, yet they were made to act 3 times. This is truly an insult to them. It was observed that he seemed to be slightly dismissive. To better fulfill his duty, Lei Gong no longer held back, reminding him, "True Lord, please do not be careless. This 5 Elements Mountain was created by the Buddha of the Western Paradise, and was originally meant to suppress the monkey of Flower Fruit Mountain. However, we do not know who set up a formation resembling the Immortal slaughtering formation on 5 Elements Mountain. This formation has completely disrupted Buddhism's plans, which is why we have been dispatched here to handle this matter. It's all for breaking that formation." "Oh, the Immortal slaughtering formation." Vulcan was slightly surprised. Chisongzi and Fengbo were no exception. However, the 3 of them didn't seem to care. The Immortal slaughtering formation is a supreme innate treasure, a creation of the Tongtian sect master. How could it possibly be set up on this 5 Elements Mountain? However, it's just that the Thunder God and Lightning Goddess themselves are incompetent. Now they're just shirking responsibility. Vulcan nodded slightly, indicating that he understood. This formation seems quite extraordinary, but can it withstand even 1/10 of my flames? Let me take a look. The thunder god and lightning goddess seemed about to open their mouths to explain. But in the end, he didn't say a single word. As the god of fire exerted his power, the entire sky instantly turned fiery red, all the clouds evaporated, and all the surrounding vegetation felt an intense heat. It was like a world-destroying flame. This is the heavenly fire of the fire god. Heavenly fire can melt all things and burn the heavens. How could he possibly take such a trivial formation seriously? Such heavenly fire is truly extraordinary. It seems this formation can also be broken. Chisongzi and the others did not choose to make a move. In their eyes, this was nothing more than a small formation, and there was no need for them to work together. Vulcan alone can do it. Heavenly fire burns everything. The sky became incredibly hot, and the plants that had previously begun to develop some sentience started to wither away. The speed is extremely fast. The celestial fires converged and eventually formed a gigantic fireball resembling a meteorite, which crashed down from a height of 10,000 meters. The target is the Immortal slaughtering formation. Everyone watched intently. Only the god of fire calmly smiled and said, "There's no need for panic. I can break this small formation by myself, there's absolutely no need to trouble you all. This is only 1/10 of my power, it should be easy to break through." The others were equally confident. Only the thunder god and lightning goddess seemed somewhat surprised. Chapter 20. The power of the heavenly fire is evident to all. However, when the heavenly fire fell upon the summit of Five Elements Mountain, it was completely blocked by the Immortal slaughtering formation, and all its power was unknowingly neutralized. The gods were still watching with bated breath. But the expression on the face of Zhu Rong, the god of fire, froze. 15 minutes later. Five Elements Mountain, however, remained completely unharmed. It was as if heavenly fire had never appeared in the world. The thunder god, the lightning goddess, and the wind god, Chisongzi glanced at the fire god, Zhurong. "Is this how you easily break through?" Vulcan's face immediately darkened. "I never expected this formation to be so resilient, managing to withstand even 1/10 of my heavenly fire." "Great! Great!" The god of fire then transformed into flames, his entire body merging into the heavenly fire, and directly crashed into the Immortal slaughtering formation. Faced with this situation, everyone was shocked. Sun Wukong was even more astonished. This guy playing with fire is really going all out. Could he have been completely absorbed by the Immortal slaughtering formation? I felt a sense of unease and doubt. The next second, Sun Wukong felt another trace of magical power being transferred into his body. This trace of magical power was very strong, much stronger than the thunder of the thunder god and lightning goddess. No matter how strong, it didn't hurt him at all. This heavenly fire is quite interesting. I, old son, was tricked by the gods and Buddhas of the heavens, and my eyes of truth were reduced to inferior fiery eyes of truth. Now, I can use this heavenly fire to see if I can truly upgrade them. Sun Wukong's eyes gleamed. Then, with the thought, he began to guide the heavenly fire that had entered his body toward his eyes. Those are fiery eyes forged from the true fire of Samadhi. However, having thoroughly read the ancient myths and legends, he knew that Sun Wukong's potential was not limited to this. The so-called being thrown into the alchemy furnace and being refined to gain fiery eyes was not the only reason. That would be utterly laughable. He originally possessed the eyes of truth, but they were damaged by the entry of the Samadhi true fire, ultimately becoming a lesser form of fiery eyes. But from an outsider's perspective, yet he still made a fortune. This is utterly laughable. Now that heavenly fire has appeared, he has a method to experiment with. When Sun Wukong tried it, everyone outside was completely dumbfounded. Such powerful heavenly fire couldn't even break through the formation on Five Elements Mountain. This must be a joke, right? The thunder god and lightning goddess shuddered. An ominous premonition arose. Seeing that such powerful heavenly fire was useless, Feng Bo and Qi Songzi exchanged a glance. Wind and rain gathered around them. Since even the heavenly fire couldn't break through this formation, they couldn't afford to underestimate it either. Without hesitation, the two began to cast spells. The sky was completely thrown into chaos. Within a radius of 100,000 li centered on the Five Elements mountain, dark clouds suddenly gathered, and a waterfall hung high in the sky. On the other side, the heavenly fire continued to gather. The three gods were unrelated to each other, yet they seemed to have merged into one. Such a powerful and extraordinary phenomenon of heaven and earth made even the thunder god and lightning goddess take notice. Guanyin nodded in satisfaction. As for Sun Wukong, he was not worried at all from beginning to end. After all, the more people who were sent to their deaths, the better. Especially this kind of elemental god. It was practically created to help him break through. That felt great. That felt great. Give me more. Give me more. Thunder god and lightning goddess, quickly unleash your magic. Don't try to take advantage of the situation. Sun Wukong roared, and with his roar, the faces of the thunder god and lightning goddess turned completely black. Have a look. Is this even human language? Chapter 21. The world-destroying heavenly fire poured down without reservation. Vulcan felt utterly humiliated. The boast he had just made could not be fulfilled, and he even had to rely on both Feng Bo and Qi Songzi, which left him in an awkward position. If the formation is not broken quickly, how could he possibly have the face to return to heaven? The three gods of wind, rain, and fire unleash their power. Unleash the full power of your magic. The sky looked like it had been torn open, like the end of the world. Wind, rain, and fire pounded down on the Five Elements mountain, shaking the heavens and earth. Ripples spread across the Five Elements mountain, but that was all. They then seemed to vanish completely without a trace. The pupils of the thunder god and lightning goddess contracted. Look! This formation is completely unharmed, even by heavenly fire, wind, and rain. This! The exclamations startled everyone. Then all three gods found it acceptable. His face was extremely pale. How could such a mere formation possibly withstand the combined power of the three gods? Moreover, they had already used their full strength. But there was nothing they could do. How strange! How strange! Could this formation really be the immortal slaughtering formation? A flicker of doubt crossed Vulcan's mind. Just as he was wondering, the thunder god and lightning goddess said from the side, "True Lord, do not be careless. This formation is rather strange. Please use all your strength to break it. You must not show any mercy, otherwise we will not be able to answer to the Jade Emperor." Vulcan hesitated, a surge of anger rising within him. Are the thunder god and lightning goddess insulting him? Or is it meant to humiliate him? Vulcan wanted to get angry, but he couldn't utter a single word. He was in this awkward situation entirely because of his own actions. You can't blame the thunder god and lightning goddess for this. But Sun Wukong watched as the heavenly fire vanished, the rain receded, and the gale dissipated, then suddenly paused, stunned. How could such a wonderful thing just disappear like that? Various spells were poured into the Five Elements mountain, filling its body and simultaneously entering Sun Wukong's body, where his Daoist body would slowly digest these elemental forces. His body will be forged into an indestructible form. It is truly indestructible. However, all the spells have dissipated. This filled him with immense frustration, and he scratched his head and exclaimed, "Ugh! Why did it stop? Is there anything else? This breeze feels so nice on my face. This water is so refreshing. I, old son, haven't bathed or washed my face in years. This water has come just in time. How wonderful! How wonderful! This fire is just right to dry my old man's fur. That felt great! That felt great! Is there any left? Sun Wukong's words echoed throughout the Five Elements Mountain, reaching the ears of several celestial deities, whose expressions were one of extreme embarrassment and awkwardness. This is a severe humiliation. They had originally intended to break the formation on Five Elements Mountain, but instead of breaking it, they were humiliated by this impudent monkey. It is truly shameful. The three gods, along with the Thunder God and Lightning Goddess, were also enraged. How could a righteous deity of the heavenly court be insulted? You impudent monkey, stop your arrogance. We came here to break the formation on Five Elements Mountain, not to serve you, you impudent monkey. Stop talking nonsense. Ha ha ha. Sun Wukong laughed loudly, then said, I know, it's just that your magic has weakened considerably, making me think you're serving me. Misunderstanding. Misunderstanding. Although he sneered inwardly, Sun Wukong spoke as if it were unintentional. This made all the gods look grim. Chapter 22. Guanyin was completely stunned. The three gods combined their powers but could not break the formation. All their spells reached Sun Wukong as easily as taking a bath or being blown by a breeze. This was the first time he had ever seen such a strange thing. How strange! How strange! Is the immortal slaughtering formation really that powerful? No. We don't yet know if this formation is the immortal slaughtering formation, so let's not jump to conclusions. Even Guanyin and Buddha were so shocked. Not to mention the Thunder God and Lightning Goddess, and others like them? A dignified deity of the heavenly court, yet he encounters obstacles at every turn when trying to break through such a mere formation. Wouldn't this make him a laughingstock throughout the three realms? Don't be so arrogant, you monkey. Take another hit of my heavenly fire. Enraged, the god of fire unleashed the world-destroying heavenly fire once more, this time with even greater ferocity, as if intent on turning the human world into hell. Feng Bo and Qi Songzi exchanged glances, gritted their teeth, and then unleashed their full power in their magic. The three of them now share both glory and hardship. If we can't even break this mere formation, wouldn't we become a laughingstock in the three realms? However, when wind, fire, and rain descended upon the Five Elements Mountain, but it remained the same as before. It dissipated quickly. It would be as if it had never happened before. This caused the expressions on the faces of all the immortals and Buddhas to freeze, and they could barely control their facial expressions, even though they were immortals and Buddhas who had lived for countless years. This was the first time I had ever seen such a scene. No. That's impossible. Feng Bo could barely speak properly. He had participated in all kinds of wars, big and small, and had seen all kinds of powerful figures, but this small formation left him helpless. This is too strange. Sun Wukong felt the elements of heavenly fire, wind, and rain appear within his body, and he was overjoyed. This body of the great Dao was truly too domineering. By directly absorbing the elemental power of immortals and Buddhas and making it his own, his domineering physique allowed him to make significant progress once again in a short period of time. Excellent! God of fire, God of wind, God of rain! Hurry up and wait a bit. Are you already so weak? You are celestial beings, surely this is all you've got. This really annoys me, old son. Sun Wukong shouted loudly. His words made the gods' faces turn extremely ugly, their entire faces instantly darkened. These unruly monkeys dare to yell at them. They were even looked down upon by this mischievous monkey. This is an insult to the dignity of the righteous gods of heaven. Furious, the three gods exchanged glances, preparing to unleash their full power. If we don't show some real skill, what happened today will likely spread throughout the three realms, and the three of them will be utterly humiliated. The three gods raised their hands. An even stronger convergence of elemental power. The surrounding vegetation was startled. Even Guanyin, standing to the side, was secretly amazed. Such power was enough to make him one of the top deities even in the heavenly court. It can withstand spells of such power. Sun Wukong smiled secretly. It's time to teach these guys a lesson. He also raised his hand, and a small flame and a drop of water gathered in front of him, with a gentle breeze blowing from time to time. Old son, see that your cultivation is poor, and you can't even use magic. Well then, old son, will teach you what immortal magic is. Before anyone could react, Sun Wukong had already done so. The flames and raindrops floated in the air, with a gentle breeze blowing from time to time. This scene made the three gods feel that it was a disgrace, a huge disgrace. This is a blatant insult. Chapter 23. You impudent monkey, cease your arrogance. You will now show me what immortal magic truly is. Oh! Getting angry now. Sun Wukong grinned, then waved his hand dismissively and said, you guys are no good. He doesn't even know immortal magic. How could such a lowly deity possibly break the formation on Five-Finger Mountain? How can you even talk about rescuing me, old son, from here? Sun Wukong spoke without thinking. This also left all the immortals and Buddhas speechless, as it seemed to be true. The Thunder God and Lightning Goddess have made their move. The gods of fire, wind, and rain also joined the fight. The results are obvious. None of them could break through the formation on Five Elements Mountain. It wasn't without reason that the monkey looked down on them so much. But the fire god Zhurong could not accept it. Once such humiliating words are used to label them, they will have no face to face the three realms. You talk too much nonsense. You impudent monkey, this time I'll show you that you're not incapable of magical arts, you're just too weak and ignorant. Before he could finish speaking, the wind howled, and the rain felt as heavy as 1,000 pounds. Fire from the sky clings to the rain. Terrifying magic once again struck the formation of Five Elements Mountain. However, this terrifying technique did not reach the formation on Five Elements Mountain. As soon as it approached, it seemed to have encountered its nemesis and retreated at an even faster speed. Even more outrageous is, the three gods were attacked by the very magic they had used, and on the spot they coughed up blood, their primordial spirits shaken. Seeing the three gods injured by the magic, Sun Wukong grinned and said, ha 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 ha, no. No. This is the magic you all wanted me, old son, to see? This. Old son, must admit this magic is truly powerful, it's just that you immortals are no match for it, too weak. Old son, merely wanted to test my magic, but who would have thought you would all be so severely injured? This has nothing to do with me, old Sunday. Old son, was just giving it a try, who knew you'd be so weak? Sun Wukong said with a slightly innocent expression. The god of fire, Zhurong, and the others coughed up blood on the spot. This humiliation was even more unacceptable than the attack they had suffered. Guanyin, standing to the side, was utterly speechless. He tried to speak several times, but he managed to hold it back. Guanyin had long anticipated that the monkey would be so wicked, but who would have thought that the righteous gods of heaven would be so weak? Or rather, has this monkey gotten stronger? This thought flashed through my mind quickly. Sun Wukong didn't even glance at the fire god Zhurong and the others, but turned to look at Guanyin Bodhisattva of the South Sea, and complained, Bodhisattva. Bodhisattva. This group of immortals is no good. They're too weak. These immortals are too weak, they can't even break this mere formation. That's utterly pathetic. How can you possibly break the formation on Five Elements Mountain when you haven't even mastered the arts of immortals? Mikami. Thunder God and Lightning Goddess. Guanyin. These are righteous gods of the heavenly court, yet this mischievous monkey claims they haven't even mastered the arts of immortals, and even repeatedly emphasizes that this group of gods is incompetent. Such words are incredibly hurtful. Without specifying the formation, it might be the immortal slaughtering formation. Given the monkey's current uncooperative attitude, it greatly increases the difficulty for the immortals and Buddhas to break the formation. But now, upon hearing Sun Wukong's words. All the immortals and Buddhas were speechless. Who can I complain to about this? After all, it was true, the fire god Zhurong and others were severely injured by the small flames cast by Sun Wukong, and their own spells seemed to have met their nemesis. This is quite peculiar. It's so unfathomable. Chapter 24. Wukong, don't speak so arrogantly. When Guanyin arrived at the Five Elements Mountain, her expression was not calm, but she was anxious to stabilize Sun Wukong, so she had no choice but to quickly reveal herself. If Sun Wukong continues to speak without restraint, not only could they not break the formation on Five Elements Mountain, it might also offend the gods in heaven. Guanyin didn't want to take on such a thankless task, so she hurriedly appeared. Regarding the appearance of Guanyin, Sun Wukong will not back down. But these kinds of immortals are just too incompetent. Let alone breaking the Five Elements Mountain's formation, they couldn't even withstand the spells old Sun, used with a little trickery. Now they're severely injured. How can one rely on such a deity? Buddha, please don't be fooled. Guanyin was utterly speechless. She hesitated several times, wanting to explain the situation, but had no factual basis to support her claim. The three gods, including the god of fire and Zhurong, were indeed unable to break the formation. Even more absurdly, they were injured by Sun Wukong. Is this what they call an eye for an eye? It can be determined according to the circumstances at the time. Sun Wukong's fire was just a tiny flame and a raindrop. The reason why the god of fire is called the god of fire is because he is recognized by the heavenly Dao and is considered to be at the pinnacle of the way of fire. But now, to be injured by a monkey head imprisoned under the Five Elements Mountain, isn't that a bit too ridiculous? Guanyin was speechless. The three gods, including the god of fire, vomited blood on the spot. They were humiliated repeatedly, even to the point of publicly desecrating their corpses. That's outrageous. The three gods flicked their sleeves, then, with livid faces, rode back to the heavenly court on a cloud without a word. They were utterly ashamed to face everyone present. The thunder god and lightning goddess glanced at the Five Elements Mountain, then at the departing fire god and the others, bowed to Guanyin, and then followed suit. Seeing this, Guanyin felt helpless. Wukong, you wait here. This humble monk will go and think of a solution. Do not cause any more trouble. On the way to heaven, the thunder god and lightning goddess secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Their fruitless mission this time was actually a huge benefit to them. If the god of fire and the others break the formation, wouldn't that imply that the god of thunder and the goddess of lightning are incompetent? That would be met with ridicule from all three realms. But now even the god of fire, Zhurong, and others couldn't break the formation on the Five Elements Mountain, so it's understandable that they couldn't do anything about it. Such petty thoughts are at play. This made the thunder god and lightning goddess feel slightly pleased. The god of fire, the god of rain, and the god of wind arrived at the Ling Xiao Palace in no time. At this moment, the Jade Emperor had already heard the reports from the 1,000-mile eye and the wind-following ear, and a hint of curiosity flashed in his eyes. Even with the help of the thunder god, lightning goddess, and fire god Zhurong, the righteous gods of heaven, they were unable to break the formation on the Five Elements Mountain and have now returned to heaven in disgrace. This is going to be interesting. The three gods, including the god of fire, Zhurong, and another, entered the Ling Xiao Palace with grim expressions. After a moment's hesitation, they reported, "Your Majesty, we have done our utmost, but we still cannot break the formation. I have failed the Jade Emperor's trust, I request punishment." They knew perfectly well that the Jade Emperor was an all-powerful being with connections to all under heaven. How could they not be aware of such a thing? But hearing such things from their own mouths felt like a profound disgrace, and they felt the strange looks from those around them. The three gods were incredibly frustrated. He had already exerted all his strength, but it had absolutely no effect on the formation, and he was even tricked by that monkey. This kind of thing. This is a disgrace for life. Chapter 25. The Ling Xiao Palace was completely silent. All the immortals remained silent. Zhu Rong is the god of fire, and together with the god of wind, Feng Bo, and the god of rain, Qi Songzi, this combination is incredibly powerful, yet they have returned in disgrace. Not only did they fail to break the formation on 5 Elements Mountain, but they also. He was even humiliated by that monkey. This was truly unexpected by all the immortals, such a change was completely unprepared. Back when Sun Wukong wreaked havoc in the Heavenly Palace, all the immortals were merely playing along. To say they were truly no match for Sun Wukong is absurd. That would be a huge mistake. Now that Guanyin Bodhisattva of the South Sea is asking for help, we must go all out. The Thunder God and Lightning Goddess are dispatched, as are the Fire God, Rain God, and Wind God. This lineup is invincible against the lower realms. However, they returned empty-handed. This is a strange thing. The Jade Emperor stroked his beard and smiled. Although this was unexpected, it was a joyous occasion. If that monkey doesn't leave the mountain, Western Buddhism could hardly have flourished. The plan was completely disrupted, wasn't it? The best approach in this kind of situation is to observe from the sidelines. However, facing the assembled immortals, the Jade Emperor stroked his beard and said, "This monkey's strength has improved again, becoming even more powerful than when he wreaked havoc in heaven. Could it be that in just a few short years, has he already made a breakthrough?" The Jade Emperor made a casual guess. Lei Gong cupped his hands in greeting and said, "Your Majesty, I believe that the monkey's strength has not only improved considerably, but he also has someone backing him up. The formation on 5 Elements Mountain is proof of that. However, that monkey's strength is vastly different from when he wreaked havoc in the Heavenly Palace. Now, I am powerless against him in the slightest, it is truly a helpless situation." "Oh, someone's backing him up." The Jade Emperor spoke thoughtfully, a hint of curiosity and interest appearing on his face. The person capable of setting up such a formation must possess extraordinary cultivation. Although such individuals are extremely rare, it is impossible to draw definitive conclusions. The Immortal Slaughtering Formation? This was, of course, a method employed by the Tongtian sect leader. However, it cannot be universally assumed that it was the work of the Tongtian sect leader. The person behind the scenes may have had a much grander scheme and may have already planned it out. The fire god Zurong gritted his teeth and said, "Leaving aside that monkey's cultivation level, the formation on 5 Elements Mountain is definitely not simple. Whether it's the Immortal Slaughtering Formation is still uncertain, but even with the 3 of us working together, we couldn't break through it. Who created the formation is still unknown, but as long as that formation remains on 5 Elements Mountain, no one can do anything to that monkey." Although he said these words through gritted teeth, but the fire god Zurong seemed somewhat helpless. The 3 of them have truly become a laughing stock. It was astonishing that a mere formation couldn't be broken. He was further berated by the monkey, losing all face and dignity this time, and looked at the strange gazes cast upon him by the people in the Ling Xiao Palace. They wished they could disappear into a crack in the ground. "I'm so ashamed." However, at this moment, all the immortals were deep in thought. The atmosphere inside the Ling Xiao Palace was strange. This small formation hadn't been broken, and yet, one after another, reinforcements were sent to aid it. But now they've returned empty-handed. If this were to get out, it would definitely become the talk of the town throughout the 3 realms. "Your Majesty," your subjects said, "we believe it is not that we are incompetent, but rather that the formation at 5 Elements Mountain is far too extraordinary, and we still cannot determine its origin. If you could know its true origin, then that formation would not be difficult for you." In an attempt to save face, the Thunder God and Lightning Goddess suddenly shattered the tranquility. Chapter 26. The immortals looked at the Thunder God with approval. The Fire God Zurong was also quite surprised. Before, when he and his companions were preparing to go to the Five Elements Mountain, they had mocked the Thunder God and the Lightning Goddess. But now, to save face, the Thunder God and Lightning Goddess have taken the lead in stepping forward, which is truly beyond his expectations. A feeling of gratitude welled up inside me. At this moment, Guanyin arrived riding a lotus. With her fingers delicately curled, she spoke with an air of great compassion. The formation at Five Elements Mountain is quite powerful. Heavenly fire, wind, rain, and lightning have all been used, yet they have been unable to break through it. This surprised me. Although Guanyin didn't say anything, the meaning behind her words was obvious, and the implication made the Jade Emperor secretly curl his lip. Then, the Jade Emperor said politely, "I truly had no choice. The origin of this formation is unknown. Without knowing its method, it is difficult to break. The person has been lent out. But since the formation remains unbroken, I cannot be blamed for that. I have already settled my karmic debt with Western Buddhism, but now the Buddha owes me a debt of karma." The Jade Emperor began to settle accounts. Whether Sun Wukong could escape the Five Elements Mountain or not was of little concern to him. In fact, he was secretly delighted. This is truly excellent. If Sun Wukong is unable to leave the mountain, that means the plan to promote Buddhism in the West will be temporarily shelved. This is a joyous occasion. Although heaven and Buddhism seem to coexist peacefully and are generally harmonious, the undercurrents within them are perhaps only known to those directly involved. If we simply stand by and watch Western Buddhism grow stronger. This was not in the usual way of the Jade Emperor, and although he was not the one who interfered, he secretly clapped his hands in delight. He won't act rashly. But we won't just watch the West prosper. As soon as the Jade Emperor finished speaking, he looked at Guanyin with a smile. Guanyin hesitated several times, as if she wanted to speak. The smile from the Jade Emperor brought him unprecedented pressure.